Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Sarthyam
Sarthyam
Arjunasya Adau
Arjunasya Adau
Arjunasya Adau
Kuruvam Gitamritam Dadau
Guruvam
Purvam
Gitam
Gitamritam Dadau
Lokatra Upakarya
Lokatra
Lokatra
Upkarya
Upakarya
Tasmai Krishnatmane Namaha.
Tasmai
Tasmai
Krishnatmane Namaha.
Krishnatmane Namaha.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita
Srimad
ki
Bhagavad Gita
Jai.
ki Jai.
So last week, what was the verse we ended our discussion on?
The discussion was with 1.28
Sure.
1.28.
and yes,
Okay. Did we discuss 1.28 and 1.29? I believe.
only touched it, I suppose, not
Okay. I think
discussed.
Abhijit was not there last week. So whoever
Yes.
was there last week, please tell us what was the last.
So we did 1.29.
Exactly. And we also touched 1.30. So we'll continue discussing, and we ended saying that we will discuss 1.30 to 1.35 today. Okay. So we'll start discussing 1.30 today and try to finish 5 verses, reach 1.35. Okay. So before starting 1.30, so we discussed that Bhagavad Gita chapter 1, first verse. What is the verse? Now, anyone apart from Abhijit and Kshitij, can they recite this first verse of Bhagavad Gita without looking into the book? And please start your cameras so that I can see you're not looking into the book. Thank you.
Sir, I'm on two logins today because I'm working in,
That's
and
okay.
I'm also.
That's okay.
So
As far
no,
as I
there
can
should be
see
no
you.
confusion.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. So yes.
Kalpesh,
So
unmute.
Karan, Kalpesh, and Randhir, and we have fellow Jester. I think it is Sushma, right? Who has joined us?
Aditi was here.
Not displaying there.
Okay, that's fine. Would you like to volunteer for reciting the first verse, Sushma, without looking into the book, if you are able to?
No, Prabhuji. First verse.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. No problem. You can have a look at the verse. I will ask someone else from Kalpesh, Karan, and Randhir to recite the verse without looking into the book, please. It's the first verse. So it's been a few weeks now.
Dhritarashtra
You can give it a try.
Uvacha.
You're not looking into the screen, right,
No,
Kalpesh?
no, I'm
No.
Okay,
not.
good.
But I only remember Dhritarashtra Uvacha, Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre.
Good.
That's it.
Okay. So he has started it with 2 words. There are other few words left which Karan and Randhir can finish. Would you like to try?
Can I help with
So
one word?
Ha,
Because they
please.
are
Yeah.
stuck up somewhere. Just there is a logic. Dhrutarashtra Uvacha. Dhrutarashtra is asking. Dharma
right.
Kshetre Kurukshetre. That is
Uh-huh.
on the land of Kurukshetra, which is a pilgrimage.
Uh-huh.
The clue is what did they do? Or
Right.
assembled over there. Assembled.
He's
Assembled.
asking Sanjay, right? He's
Yeah.
asking Sanjay out here. It's
It's
like
something like
Dhritarashtra said.
summer. Listen, Randir, summer.
Uh-huh.
Summer. I'm just starting the word summer. Kalpesh, do you remember?
Samayutsa. Something.
Summer.
Samaveta.
Yeah.
Yutsa.
Samaveta Yutsava.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then the
Good.
next line.
Samaveta means assembled.
Assembled
Yutsava means to fight.
with the desire to fight.
So what is the next after that?
Mine. Mine. What is the word for mine?
Mamaka.
My. Yeah.
Very nice. Mamaka
Then
means my.
then my
Mamaka.
brothers.
Pandavascha.
Five brothers.
Pandavascha
Pandavas.
eva, which is
Pandavascha.
Eva.
Pandavascha eva.
Next word is interesting. Pandavas Chaiva. So we discussed this many times. What did they do means what? Kimakurvata.
Kimukuru.
Kimakurvata.
Imakurvata.
Kim Makurvata. And now it is what Randhir you said correctly first. He was speaking to whom?
Sanjay.
To
Sanjay.
Sanjay, sir.
Correct, yes. So what Dhritarashtra says is that starting with Dharmkshetre Kurukshetre
Kurukshetra.
Samavetaha Yuyutsava Mamakah Pandavascha Aiva Kim Akurvata Sanjayah. So he says this. What did my sons, that is Kauravas, and what did the sons of Pandava do in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is also a Dharmkshetra? Very simple. He's asking whom? Sanjay. Please revisit the verses which we have studied. Please go and have a look once in a week. Doesn't take too long. Just have a look at the verse and the translation and see if it makes any sense. It will help you understand our original language, Sanskrit. Yeah, it's very important to know a few words so that we can relate them slowly and slowly with the further verses of Bhagavad Gita. Yujutsava fighting, because this is a war going on. So Yujutsava will come few times in Bhagavad Gita. So if you can relate that straight away when you read the verse, you'll know, oh, this is about fighting. He's saying something about fighting. So that's the way you read Bhagavad Gita. Try to learn from the verses and build the future verses. Please read. Please read the verses. It will help you if you're really interested to understand Bhagavad Gita. Take out a few minutes in a week. Go back and revisit the verses, please, and the translation. Okay, so the first answer which was given by Sanjay to Dhritarashtra lies in the verses from 2 to 13. He answers him, what did Kauravas do? What did he tell him? What did Duryodhan do? So Duryodhan represents Kauravas. And who represents Pandavas? In Bhagavad Gita. Who represents Pandavas in Bhagavad
Arjun.
Gita? Very nice. Yes. And that is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita itself. So if you go to verse 10.37, I'll share my screen with you. So I'll read this verse for you. 10.37. Vrishni nam Vasudevo asmi Pandavanam Dhananjayah Muninam api aham Vyasya Kavinam Ushana Kavi. So Krishna says in chapters 10 that of the descendants of Vrishni, I am Vasudev, and of the Pandavas, the best, I am Arjun. So Krishna is saying that who is he? That is, he is the best among all. So best among Vrishnis is Vasudev. Best among Pandavas is Arjun. And best among all the sages is Muni Vyasa. And among all the thinkers or the philosophers, it is Ushana. So the best among Pandavas, who's representing Pandavas, is Arjun. Okay. So what did Kauravas do is explained from verse 2 to 13. What did Arjun do is explained from verse 14 till the end of Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the answer to Dhritarashtra's questions. The reason why I tell you what are these two questions, the reason why I tell you should remember the first verse. Because Bhagavad Gita is the crux of that two questions. Does it make sense? Yeah? That's why you should know what are the two questions of Bhagavad Gita. First things. All right. Now, what did Arjun say in 1.30? We will read this verse again just to get the gist of it and discuss a bit more. I'll share my screen. 1.30. We'll read it a bit faster because we read it a few times last week. न च शक्नोमि अवस्थातुम्
न च
न च
न च
शक्नोम्यहम्
शक्
अवस्थातुं
न च शक्
Okay.
च
न च शक्नोमि अवस्थातुम्
न
न
च
च
न च
न च
शक्नो
शक्नोमि
शक्नोम्यवस्थातुम्
अवस्थातुं
अवस्थातुम्
भ्रमतीव च मे मनः
भ्रमतीव
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 च
च
मे
मे
मनः
मे नमः
मनः
निमित्तानि च पश्यामि
निमित्तानि
निमित्तानि च
निमित्तानि च
पश्यामि
पश्यामि
विपरीतानि केशव.
विपरीतानि
विपरान्ति
केशव
विपरीतानि केशव
केशव.
पितानि केशव.
So what is viparitani? What is viparit? Have you heard
opposite
about this word?
Different.
opposite
Viparit?
opposite
Opposite, yes. So whatever is Arjun thinking is that the result nimittani cha pashyani. So what he's saying, nimittani cha pashyani. Nimittani means cause. Pashyami is I see.
You see,
Viparitani is just the opposite. So he says, what I see, the causes could be just the opposite. So what I'm seeing here, what is he seeing? He's seeing all his relatives. He's seeing all his known friends and everyone. He says, if they die, that is not the result I want. That is the opposite result. If they win, if they win and I die, that is also an opposite result. Both ways, I'm not seeing any correct result. I'm seeing the opposite result. I'm not able to figure out. And what he says in the middle, he says, Brahmateva. Brahmativa cha me manaha. Brahmat. Brahma. What is Brahm?
confusion?
Illusion.
Very good. Illusion. Yes. Yes, correct. So, Brahma, it can also be confusion. It can also be confusion, but illusion is the accurate one for this. Illusion. So, someone who's in illusion is Brahma. So, he says, my mind is reeling. So, he's not able to think correctly. Yes. And the word used here, Keshava. What does Keshava mean?
Krishna.
Sorry?
Is it
Keshava?
referred to Krishna?
Krishna? Yeah, it's a name of Krishna, but what does Keshava mean? What is the meaning of Keshava?
he killed a demon called Keshi.
Okay. What else?
So after that, he was named as Keshava.
Okay, that is one. Keshava also means someone who has curly hair. So Krishna had curly hair, very beautiful curly hair. So one who has beautiful curly hair is also known as Keshava. And other meaning of Keshava, one more meaning of Keshava is Ka Isha Vapu, someone who's the source of Lord Brahma and Shiva. Ka Isha Vapu. Ka is Lord Brahma, Isha is Ishvara, the source, and Vapu is Shiva. So there are many demigods, devatas and mahadevs. There are many demigods which we have. There are crores of demigods, in India. If we list them, it will be like very difficult to list them all. But Krishna is considered the supreme personality of Godhead. So if you see any government, they construct a prison house. They can give a contract to build the prison house to someone. They can give a contract to destroy that prison house to someone. But to maintain that prison house, they will never contract it out, that they will keep it to themselves. Similarly, Krishna does give this permission to Lord Brahma and Shiva to create and destroy this world, this material manifestation. But the maintenance is held by Lord Sri Krishna. I'm just giving it an example. Don't take it as a direct understanding, but just an analogy.
Is Vishnu a Krishna? No.
Who's saying this?
Kalpesh. Sorry, I've switched off my camera because I'm sitting
Okay. Okay.
on like Sinclair and all, so
That's all
I'm
right. That's all
too
right.
hot
Okay.
at the
Okay.
moment. Yeah.
Okay. So who's Krishna? Who's Vishnu? Okay. Anybody can. We have discussed this before, haven't we? Yes. Have we discussed this before?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So Abhijit is ready to answer. Anyone else would like to answer before I hand it over to Abhijit to answer Kalpesh? No? Okay. Okay, Abhijit. Yeah. Who's Krishna? Who's Vishnu?
Krishna is like, Kalpesh, you're sitting at home, so you are in a different state, and when you're in your office, you are in a different uniform, and all those you're working and all those things. So it's easy to say that Krishna is Krishna at home and Krishna is Vishnu in office,
Very nicely
on the
said.
workplace.
Very simple way. When the Supreme Lord is at work, he is Vishnu. When he is playing, he is Krishna.
Mhm.
Does it make sense, Kalpesh?
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you want official connection,
Mm.
Vaikuntha connection, you go to Vishnu.
Mhm.
But when you want the rasa, when you want bhakti,
Mm.
what is rasa? What is ras?
Nectar.
Okay. But in crude language, in our
Oh,
understanding, what
The
is ras?
juice.
Okay.
Juice.
I understand. The juice. That is
Plus
the literal meaning of that. But what is ras? Ras
alcohol.
is juice. Okay.
extract of
Juice.
extract of
Extract.
all good
Yeah.
qualities or
Extract. You're close. Or
Extract. Extract. He said the right thing.
yeah,
Extract
he
of
said the
all
right
the
thing.
good
Yes.
qualities,
Oh.
Yeah.
all
like
the good.
Juice.
cow
What
gives
is
like cow gives
so
the
when we say
milk.
juice of something or extract of some, what does that mean? Everything you do in this world has rasa. Yes, correct. And if you don't get that while doing it, you don't like doing that stuff. Doesn't make sense?
Mm-hmm.
समझ रहे हैं मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ?
Mm-hmm.
उसका crude word है मजा. It's a very simple word. Anything you do, पढ़ाई भी है, पढ़ाई में मजा नहीं आ रहा है यार. ये भगवत गीता पढ़ रहे हैं लेकिन मजा नहीं आ रहा है. You know that juice, that rasa, it can't be explained. It's a feeling. Everybody can have a different rasa. You may not get juice of what somebody else is getting juice from. So it is your own, right? So Krishna is that maza providing God. जो मजा था ना किसी में भी, वो है कृष्ण. Yeah, he will explain. Like he explains further in Bhagavad Gita, he says, I am the taste of water. अभी पानी पीने में क्या टेस्ट है, लेकिन मजा आता है ना. हाँ, अरे हाँ या ना तो बोलो यार.
Yes.
हाँ
पानी में मजा आता है ना. Yeah, when you're
हाँ
thirsty, taste नहीं है पानी में. But if someone gives you ghee at that time, the most expensive ghee, गरम गरम करके देगा, मजा नहीं आएगा. पानी से महंगा है वो. दारू देगा, नहीं आएगा मजा. पानी चाहिए. It may give you 120-year-old, scotch. 120-year-old under the barrel with all the smoky effects. It'll give you all the best kind of drinks. Most expensive. I that they saw one drink. $50,000 for one bottle of single malt. 60-year-old. $50,000. 5 गाड़ी आ जाएगा उसमें. एक बॉटल. किसके लिए वो लेते हैं वो ड्रिंक? किसके लिए? $50,000. मजा मजा
Maza.
मजा आना चाहिए.
Enjoyment.
ये दूसरा ड्रिंक में नहीं आएगा. दूसरा विस्की में नहीं आएगा मजा. मजा वो चाहिए. That is a feeling you're after, isn't it? Relationships break, मजा नहीं आ रहा है. Friendships break, मजा नहीं आ रहा है. मजा नहीं आ रहा है. Not enjoying. I'm not getting what I want. Feeling नहीं आ रही. So Krishna explains further in Bhagavad Gita who is he. One of them which I told you is a taste of water. There is no taste of water, but there is that quenching, thirst quenching ability of Krishna. Okay. Yeah, Randir, you wanted to say something?
No, sir, it's okay. I'll continue at the end of it. I just jotted down.
Okay. So Krishna is Keshava, source of Lord Brahma and Shiva. That is also one Keshava.
And just to add to that, Prabhuji, in chapter 15, it is clearly mentioned the hunger which we feel in our body is also Krishna. The forgetfulness, the mindfulness we have is also Krishna. So that was really enlightening for me, at least when I read that.
Yeah, we'll read chapter 10. A lot of things will be revealed. By the time we'll have a good journey as well through reaching there. But just to give you a gist as to why he's the source, how to identify Krishna is that way. Okay. So the source of Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu is Keshava. That's the meaning of Keshava. So maintaining, yeah. He says in chapter 10.2 also that, he mentions in chapter 10, verse 2, that Name vidhu sargana prabhavam na maharshayah ahamartihi devanam maharshinam cha sarvashah. He says that neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences. For in every respect, I am the source of the demigods and sages. So even the devatas, they are not able to understand Krishna. So difficult because he's a source of them as well. Like many of the pastimes given in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad Puran, even Indra sometimes forgets who's the source. He starts throwing, all the kind of what do you call his weapons on Brijavasis, and then Krishna has to reveal himself. So there are many pastimes like that when the demigods forget that their source is Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate source. So now, what is happening with Arjun in 1.30? He is identifying himself with what? Read the verse. And what does he say there?
He's actually forgetting what he's actually forgetting his identity, who he
Very
is.
nice. Very nice. Very nice. He's not able to identify himself because he says Brahmati cha me manah. Mind difficult because his mind is reeling and mind is very difficult to control. Why mind is very difficult to control? Because mind is what is the nature of mind? We've discussed this before. What is the nature of a mind? What does it do to us? It takes us where?
To different places in fraction of seconds.
No, that's correct. But the tendency of the mind is to take us always in the lower consciousness. The mind is equaled with water. So what is the tendency of water? Water doesn't stay up. Water always goes down.
Lowest level.
It will go to the
Not
lowest level,
stable.
not stable. So it will always take us down, always take us in the lowest consciousness. That's the nature of the mind. And why it is like that? Why mind is like that? Why does mind take us to lowest? It is explained in the purport. So if you read the purport of 1.30, it is explained. I'll share my screen with you. So it says here, Arjun was unable to stay on the battlefield. He was forgetting himself on the account of his weakness of his mind. Excessive attachment for material things puts a man in such a bewildering condition of existence. Attachment for material things. What is attachment for material things?
Maya, sir.
Okay, we are in
Another
Maya.
living being.
Sorry?
Another living being.
Attachment with another living being, attachment with your relative, attachment with your close one, attachment with someone, yes. Attachment with a human being, attachment. So what is that attachment? Attachment to the material body. Yes. Attachment to some material body in the form of relative, of course, but yes, attachment to the material element. What else?
The biggest attachment is identifying ourself or jiva as a embodied soul. Instead
Okay,
of soul identifying itself as a body, which is
very nice. Identifying
just
yourself a body, but what are the attachments of this body? What are our attachments? One is relationship. Yes, it's an attachment, as Karan
Attachment to
correctly
the
said.
loved ones.
Attachment to the loved ones. Yes, Karan said the similar thing. Attachment to the close ones, relatives. Yes, that's
Hoarding
correct.
wealth.
Sorry, wealth.
Hoarding.
Yes, attachment to money. Attachment to money. You know, it is said that a person, kanjus, a miser. You know, there is no fun staying with a miser, living with a miser as a relative. As a relative, there is no fun living with a miser. But it is great to wait for him to die because he leaves everything for you. He doesn't do anything with it. I've seen such people. Lots of wealth, but they live like misers. Lots of wealth. They got property, everything, but they couldn't have a life. They couldn't spend because they just wanted to collect. They were too attached to the money to go away. What else?
Sir, attachment to power.
Power, fame, name. Yes. Control. Control over others. Yes. Attachment to power. Controlling others. Being the lord of others. That's an attachment. Yes.
So
Correct.
what about ego?
Ego. Yes. Ego basically attachment to your false ego, as you call it, attachment to your false ego is that you only want to satisfy your own self. That is the attachment you have. That you consider only yourself, and those people who only care about their own self and not the others, they are called asura. An asura is someone who only cares about his own breath. Asura. I only care about my own breath. I don't care about yours. That is asura.
That's where the term comes from, asur.
Yes. Asura means someone who only cares about his own breath. That's the meaning of asura.
Wow.
Okay. What other attachments?
So Prabhuji,
Is lust an attachment? Yes. Very big attachment. So there is a pastime of King Nahusha. King Nahusha, it's in Bhagavad Puran. So King Nahusha, he was a very, very pious person. Very pious person. He had, accumulated fantastic amount of karmas and good work throughout his lives, that he actually got the position of Indra. Indra is the king of demigods, king of heaven. So Indra is not a person. Indra is the position.
oh, okay.
So Indra keeps changing. As a human being, one of you can become Indra if you do good works through your lifetimes. So Indra is a position which Nahusha took by doing lots of pious activities. So he got that. But that is also material. That is not spiritual position. That is a material position. So heaven is, so it has got all the opulences. It is said that, so the concept of heaven is that there is no conception. You can enjoy as much as you like. Heaven is, the conception of heaven is that there is no conception. No interfere in your enjoyment. You can have as much satisfaction of your lust, whatever you want, it's available. So that position Nahusha got. And what happened there was, he wanted to enjoy Sachi, who was the wife of Indra. I mean, of course, the previous Indra. So he wanted to enjoy his wife. So Sachi said, okay, yes, she invited him at her place, but she said that you will come in the palanquin of sages. The sages should carry you and bring you to my place. Only then you can enjoy me. So he gathered all the sages, all the rishis, sadhus, and he said that you carry me to Sachi. So they were carrying, and of course they are sages. They are not like very strong people. So they would go slowly. But Nahusha's attachment to Sachi was such that, you know how lust attaches you? It attaches you with with impatience. Lust attaches with impatience, and there is irritation if you don't get it. So he was angry. So anger comes after. So he was angry at the sages. that why are you taking me faster? Because he wanted to meet Sachi very quickly. And sages, they got angry on Nahusha and they kept the palanquin, they cursed him to become a snake. And because the sages were very powerful, they had so much sacrifices done, so their curse worked. So even if you do many pious activities, but you have attachment with any of these material desires, you may fall down. That is what is explained in this verse. That attachment for material things puts a man in a bewildering condition of existence. So test what are you attached with and try to control that, try to diminish it. Try finding the ways to diminish them, which we will discuss any which ways. So Nahusha, this is the story of King Nahusha. And in this verse, Prabhupada further gives an example of, or he quotes, Bhayam Dvitiya Bhiniveshatah. Do you read that in the verse? Can you read that? Is everyone with me?
Yes, probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bhayam Dvitiya Bhiniveshatah. So we'll read that verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2, verse 37. I'll share my screen with you. Can you see?
Yes, I can see.
Yep.
Bhayam Dvitiya Bhiniveshatah Syad Ishad Apetash Viparayayo Smritihi Tan Ma Yayato Buddha Abhijetam Bhakte Kayesham Gurudevatatma Bhayam Dvitiya Bhiniveshatah Syad Ishad Apestash Viparayayo Smriti Tanmayayato Buddha Abhajetam Bhakti Kayesham Gurudeva Tatma. It's a very, very powerful verse. But remember only these two words. Please repeat after me. Bhayam
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 Dvitiya
Dvitiya.
Dvitiya
Dvitiya
Abhiniveshatah.
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 Abhiniveshatah
Shatah.
Bhayam Dvitiya Abhiniveshetah.
Bhayam
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 Dvitiya
Dvitiya
Bhiniveshatah.
Abhiniveshatah
Bhayam Dvitiya Bhiniveshetah.
Bhayam
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 Dvitiya
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 Bhiniveshatah.
Abhiniveshatah
Shatah.
Vesatah.
Bhayam Dvitiya Bhiniveshatah.
Bhayam
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 Dvitiya
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 Bhiniveshatah.
Shatah.
Abhiniveshatah
What does this mean? What does Bhayam mean?
Fear.
Scared.
Fear, 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 fear. So fear is Bhayam. What is Dvitiya?
Second.
Secondary.
Yes. Other, second or different.
Other than.
Dvitiya, other than. Bhiniveshatah. It's a very
Different
beautiful word.
kinds.
So Dvitiya, because of absorption. Abhiniveshatah. That means you're absorbed in, you are immersed in the thought of being different, of being the part and parcel of the Lord. That is called misidentification. Do you understand this?
Not really.
Thinking that I am not a part and parcel of the Lord. In simple terms, thinking that I am not the servant of the Lord who has to go back and serve the Lord is misidentification.
Mhm.
And misidentification is a serious problem. Serious problem. We'll discuss that. How do you identify? How do you find out that what are you identifying with? We'll do that exercise now. Very interesting. Would you like to do that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we'll do that. But before that, try to understand what is misidentification. So, what is misidentification as per the definition? Sushma will tell us.
Um, you're asking the literal meaning or
No, just
in
the
terms of
definition which we discussed just now. The definition of misidentification. So, what is misidentification?
identifying incorrectly ourselves?
Very good. And as per Srimad Bhagavatam, which we read, Bhayam Dvitiya Abhini.
Abhi,
What was that? Bhayam Dvitiya Viniveshatah. What does that mean?
You're not recognizing
uh,
yourself as a servant.
Very good. Misidentifying ourselves as not being the servant of the Lord. So, what is our constitutional position? That brings that question. To
A servant.
identify ourselves, yes, to a servant of the Lord. Now, the question is, why should I serve the Lord? The question comes in, right? Why should I
So
serve the
because,
Lord?
so because the Lord will also serve us. Remember that?
Very nice. If you serve purely, become a pure devotee, the Lord becomes Bhakta Vatsala. Very nice, Randir. Yes, but that shouldn't be the desire, right? That was not the reason why Arjun was becoming a devotee, correct? Okay, it's good that that is a reciprocation, but the intention, that is not an intention. Is that our intention? No, right? Should okay, that's not the right question. Should that be our intention?
Because then that becomes attachment, sir.
Correct. Because you are again, it's give and take, isn't it?
Right. But but
उसमें
sir,
मजा नहीं
that's
आता give and take में.
no, but that's why I'm saying everybody goes to the mandir. Where people go ahead and put up, murti in the house. I mean, it's like it's all attachment. We
Okay.
जाके नारियल तोड़ो उधर भगवान मेरे को ये देगा. I mean, वो attachment हुआ कि नहीं हुआ?
No,
It's a
no, that is
reciprocal transaction.
that is a different thing. That is not attachment. Is that attachment? Attachment to नारियल
no,
फोड़ना or
actually.
attachment to the deities? वो कैसे attachment हुआ? You explain me if you think that is an attachment. Oh, I'll leave it to you. You analyze.
Yes,
You think how it is an attachment. You tell me later. But the question is that what is our constitutional position? It is a servant of being a servant of the Lord. But the question comes in. Someone says, "Why should I serve the Lord?" Yeah. Why should I be serving the Lord? I don't want to serve the Lord. That's not my constitutional position. But if you think deeply, we are serving someone or the other every day, every moment. I don't know if you have seen in Australia here, whoever lives here, I've seen people in the morning, they take their dogs. Yeah. and they have a small polythene bag in their hands.
Yeah.
The dog is okay, but that polythene bag is very interesting. Do you know what that polythene bag is for? Anyone? Any guesses?
Picking up
To
Yes. Any
basically
guesses?
pick up the
Pick up the shit
shit
of the dog,
of the dog.
Yes. Pick up the dog
S-
poo.
serving the dog.
serving the dog.
See, their morning sadhana starts with picking up the dog poo. Nityakram of dog is their service. Amazing, isn't it?
but Prabhuji,
Now that is service. You see, that is service to dog, isn't it? Dog is served, isn't he? हम लोग को तो, I mean, we have to go inside, right? The dog is allowed to do it anywhere, and there is a servant who will pick it up. Isn't that a great service for the dog? Yes, Randir.
okay, but sir, every time they say is a dog is one of the best servants of a man.
That is, I don't know
No, no, no. I mean,
about
it's
that
like,
saying.
but in this case, what kind of a
I don't know
servant he
about
is
that
when the
saying.
man
I'm
himself?
just saying about the Pratyaksha Pramana I see every morning out of my courtyard. I just see that pretty much every day.
uh,
And they're not hesitant. They're very happy. They discuss about it. And if we talk to them that how great service, they feel proud about it. Yeah. So you're serving. You're actually serving. Even being at the topmost position, the prime minister, the president of the country, he's also serving. He has to serve, otherwise he'll be out. Any position you take, you have to serve. So why not serve the Lord?
mhm, mhm.
Yeah. And that is explained in verse 10 point. No, that is not explained in chapter 10. That is explained in Bhagavad Gita by Lord Sri Krishna. I'll share the verse with you. He says that if you serve the Supreme Lord Krishna, every living entity is served. And the analogy given is that if you water the roots of a plant, the branches, the tips, the stem, everything gets water. So you don't want to water the leaf, the stem, the branches separately. Instead, you would just go ahead and water the roots. Similarly, when you serve the Supreme Lord, everyone is served. You don't have to pick up the dog poo to serve the animals. You only have to serve Krishna. Everyone will be served. Ultimately, he provides everyone everything, right? Aren't the animals living in the forest? Yes. Aren't they getting food? Aren't they getting water? They're getting everything. So if you serve the Supreme, everyone is served. So the constitutional position of a living entity is Jiva Swarupena Krishnera Nitya Das. That you serve the Supreme, everyone will be served. Okay, coming back to the identification. Now, fear, when we discussed this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhayam Dvitiya, can you say that? Bhayam Dvitiya Vinive.
Abhinivesha. Viniveshata.
Try to recite this. This is very, very sweet and very, very important. Bhayam Dvitiya Viniveshatah. Bhayam Dvitiya Viniveshatah Syat. That's the whole statement. Bhayam dvitiya bhiniveshatah syad. That this is fear arising from misidentification. The fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself with something which he is not. So Madhavacharya, one of the scholars of the philosophy of in Vedanta, Vedantic scholars, he in Srimad Bhagavatam explains this, that when a conditioned soul, what is a conditioned soul? So there are two different state of a soul or a living jiva atma, as we say, jiva atma. There are two states. One is conditioned and the other is liberated. A liberated soul does not get another body. It is liberated. That means it is gone out of the cycle of birth and death. Very simple understanding. It doesn't mean a ghost. Huh? Don't think that. It doesn't mean a ghost. Ghost means a soul which has not completed its tenancy term and lost its body and finding a body to complete its tenancy. Just like a tenant is searching for another house to finish its tenancy. That tenant is the ghost. But the soul which is liberated is not a ghost. Liberated soul means that soul has come out of the cycle of birth and death and it has reached a certain destination where it will not come back from. It can be Vaikuntha, it can be heavenly planets. But heavenly planets, again, as we have discussed, they are not spiritual. So Vaikuntha or Krishna Loka or being in the abode of the Lord. We will discuss those things later. But a liberated soul is that soul which is out of the cycle of birth and death. Is it making sense, Sushma?
Yes, Prabhuji. Your last word, I didn't understood that. Out of the.
Yeah, out of the cycle of birth and death.
Okay.
So when we look at this body, the body has a beginning and end, but the soul inside us is eternal. So when the soul does not need a body and it is liberated, or as we call it moksha, it leaves the cycle of birth and death. That's called liberated soul. And a conditioned soul is when it is encapsulated in a body, when it has a material body. It's called conditioned soul. So when a conditioned soul, so we are in the body, so we are conditioned souls. Simple. Like the one who has a body is termed as, in very simple understanding, the conditioned soul. So conditioned soul of demoniac mentality. So how is the demoniac mentality? We will discuss that. Demoniac mentality means in being in the tamas guna. We have discussed these three gunas, right? Tamas, rajas, and sattvic, sattva. Yeah. So just tamas guna, demoniac mentality. That soul, that conditioned soul, identifies itself with the body. Now, what are the symptoms? That particular living entity undergoes drowsiness, constant drowsiness, likes to laze, likes to sleep more than. Now, when I say drowsiness, drowsiness does not mean that you want to sleep at night. That is normal. You sleep at night at 10 p.m. and wake up at 5 o'clock, that's normal. Or 6 a.m., that's normal. 8 hours of sleep, that's fine. But or once in a while if you feel drowsy because of being unwell or being too tired, that's also normal. But a constant drowsiness, a constant laziness is a symptom of a person who identifies himself as this gross body, who only thinks I'm the body, feels constant drowsiness. And he also or she also has unquenchable sexual desires. So constant sexual desire and constant laziness. These two are the major symptoms of a person who identifies himself as just this body, nothing else. He can't think beyond the body. That's the first. Next, when a conditioned soul or a living entity, conditioned soul, identifies itself with life air. So when we have a lot of practices which we do, like we do pranayam, we do yoga, and we get too attached or um, too much influenced by that we start identifying ourselves as that, as we are this air which is flowing through, and we meditate only on that, and we think that we are this, nothing else, and we start feeling the kind of satisfaction only in that. Beyond that, there is nothing. So we do yoga, we do pranayam, we say that's it, that's all my identification is. So trying to identify your own self with life air only, that conditioned soul has a lot of hunger. He eats a lot, or she eats a lot. I mean, maybe they're controlling their hunger, but they're always hungry. That is one major symptom of a person who identifies himself or herself as life air. Okay. Third, when a conditioned soul identifies himself as mind. When you think I'm this mind, yeah, my thoughts, this is me, he comes under the control of fear. So person who has a lot of fear, anxiety, panic, hankering. What is hankering? Anyone know what is hankering?
Always complaining.
Desire,
No,
sir. Desire.
no, 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 no. No, no, that's not hankering. I'll give you a very simple example. It's not desire. It's a little more than that. Like you desired for something, okay? Say for example, a car. Okay? Now you got a car. But now after getting the car, you started hankering, Arey yaar, I should have a Mercedes. It's not a desire. It's hanker. You have it, but you want something else, or something better, or something more.
So it's an escalation from a need to a want.
Very true. Always want something. Very true. You can term it if you
Masgrau's
understand that.
theory, sir.
So when you have more hankering, and that hankering ends in disappointment, that means most of the time, you may get it, you may not, but if you don't get it, you are disappointed. You're really disappointed very badly. That means you're identifying yourself with the mind. To the degree of disappointment is the degree of your identification to the mind. Does it make sense? कितना बुरा लगता है ना, उतना ज्यादा आइडेंटिफाई करते हो माइंड के साथ. That's how you check your intensity of identification. Okay. Then if someone identifies himself with the intelligence, thinks that I am nothing but my buddhi. Okay. If someone thinks like that, he experiences profound existential bitterness and frustration deep within, not satisfied, and a bit of bitterness. Also has a tendency to just find faults in others. He tries to find why others are like that instead of identifying his own self. analysis syndrome. Too much analysis, paralysis. Those syndromes. Analyzing others. Not realizing or identifying your own self. Okay. So that is someone when he identifies himself with the buddhi or intelligence. Okay. When someone identifies himself with the false ego, he develops inferiority complex. Feels that I'm too low. If he identifies himself with that, sometimes he finds, oh, I'm the great. Sometimes he finds very low. So all those things happens with the wrong identification with the ego. Develops this inferiority. I